Oh man, here he go again, asking these questions. Asking these questions we don't want to ask. Here he go again. Oh man, what has he done this time? Brother Legend, my goodness. Here to raise your consciousness as always. Not the white kind. I hear you, Black Mystique. I hear you. We're going to have a hard time with this one. We're going to have a hard time with this one. I just asked the questions, all right? I just asked questions. I think we all can grow a little bit when we think critically, ask why. That's it. I'm just here to ask questions. I want to hear some of y'all's takes. You know, don't come up here with any historical inaccuracies. Be prepared to answer some questions. If you come up, I'm going to ask you your age, your race, and your pronouns. When we talk about ethical, we talk about things that avoid doing harm to people or the environment. When we talk about ethics, that's what we're talking about. I'm going to let people up when we get to 2K likes. We're 300, 200 likes away, so keep tapping. Oh, man. Shout out to all the sisters in here. Shout out to the brothers. Greetings to the others. Welcome to my live. The definition of ethics, you can look it up, relating to moral principles pertaining to avoiding doing harm to people or the environment. That is the type of ethics we are talking about. There is a subjective version of ethics when it comes to correlating that with, the interests of an organization or a people group. You know, if you join an organization, certain things might be unethical because you signed a waiver that says that you're not supposed to do certain things. However, when we're talking about ethics, we mean avoiding doing harm to people or the environment. Let's talk about it. I'm going to bring somebody up. Poetic Logic, what's going on? Give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Yeah, Poetic Logic, 36, Black African, he and him.
All right. Welcome, brother. Talk to us.
Yeah. So I know this is kind of like a hot button issue with everything that's going on right now in our social climate, especially with the rise of radical feminism. So I'm going to try to tread lightly, but at the same time, I have an outspoken personality. So ethical. The thing is, I've noticed how feminism, it has somewhat become very, very divisive, and it's the interpretation of feminism has definitely strayed from its original definition. So, yeah, I mean, like, I can only speak on my experience as far as like, okay, my mom, she raised me, so I have a lot of respect for females, right? At the same time, I understand that, in our society, females, they aren't respected.
All right. Are you talking about Black women?
Yes.
All right. So in my life, women in general
Yes.
is Black women.
Yes.
Because they're very rarely seen as the default. They're very rarely centered when we're talking about womanhood. So in my life, as we do in our community, when we talk about women, we talk about the sisters. make sure that when you address the sisters, you address them as women. I'm gonna just warn you on that, because everything else you're saying is going to get thrown out the window. You keep using a term that could also be used for an animal.
My bad, my bad. But I do want to say though that it's important to understand that black women are powerful. You know what I mean? They are powerful. They are the creators. They are the teachers of the world. And so when feminism definitely came into the picture, it definitely made even more divisive towards the black community. So this is where it's not as ethical as it should have been. You know what I mean? Especially when it just became nothing more than a tool to further dismantle and further subjugate the black community.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I can't preface the fact that this whole patriarchy thing, because I think people they misunderstand that within patriarchy, black men, we don't benefit from patriarchy. You know what I mean? And they think that just because we may be men, like I can't activate my patriarchy anytime it's like, hey, I'm a man. You look at that Jonathan Majors situation. How did patriarchy help him? Yeah. So, and because I was asked recently if would I rather be a woman, or be a man, and I would be proud to be a woman. Every black woman that I've known has been the most powerful, the most intelligent, the most educated. So I don't see a disadvantage as far as that. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Appreciate watching you, Brother Legend. So I'm gonna stick to the comments.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you coming up.
No problem.
All right. We had someone else, but they scared. They ran away. Here he go again, asking these hard questions. Ashe in the comments. I see y'all in here, man. I see my family coming up. Leisha, Black Gold Magic. So what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about the idea of feminism. Fire G, peace, queen. We're talking about the idea of feminism, the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes. To anyone that says feminism is ethical, I question you this. Peace, Stella. Peace to the Queen Dim. To anyone that says feminism is ethical, I question you this. Black men have the highest incarceration rate amongst men. Black men are the most heavily incarcerated, even in places where they are a minority of a minority. So, anyone that says feminism is about equality, I challenge you this. Would you like to be incarcerated like black men? Who do you want to be equal to? Who do you want to be equal to? That's a serious question. If someone could come up and answer that for me, I will be gladly waiting here, feet crossed, just waiting for someone to answer the question, what men are we going to be equal to? If it don't make sense, come on up and let me know. Come on up, let me know. Who do we want to be equal to? If we're talking about the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes, then who do we want to be equal to? What is equality? Let's talk about it. Word writer, give us your age, race, and pronouns.
36. I am him. And
Race?
indigenous.
All right, talk to us.
So, my brother, mi hermano, mi primo, tío, unc, this is a great question. And I feel like it's enough thought provocation to understand what the women's suffrage movement was. Like, are women in suffrage today? If they are, what does that look like? So to be honest, if that's okay, I come to you as a student and not someone that has the answer, because it doesn't make sense. Because if equality is the goal, then it should be, balanced in regards of all facets, right? But I don't see equality among genders, sexes, and being that the YT woman is the most privileged person in this country, therein lies another inaccuracy. So where's the equality at exactly? I just have questions. I have no answers.
Okay. For those that want to find some of the answers, I would recommend a book, Man Not by Tommy J. Curry. Man Not by Dr. Tommy J. Curry. Might give you some of those answers. All right. Anwar, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, my brother? How you doing?
Ashe, peace. What's going on?
Oh man, I hope the good Lord blessing you, brother.
Absolutely.
I came on here. If I'm not mistaken, the topic is this women rights suffrage type thing. Is that what we talking about?
Feminism being the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes.
Okay. What I think was, see, our women wasn't going through what the YT woman was going through. We wasn't, coming home, I'm trying to use TikTok words, making a mess with our woman. The YT man would come home and make a mess with his woman. And a lot of these young black women that didn't have, I don't even want to say education, just didn't have the smarts not to join up in this program, because y'all wasn't suffering like the YT woman was. We gave y'all everything. We worked our butts off to put a roof over y'all head. You know what I'm saying? Especially during the 60s and the 70s. We worked our butts off to make sure the kids was good, the wife was good. And when this came around, y'all let these YT women manipulate y'all. And don't you want equal rights to him? There is no such thing as equal rights to a man. You a woman and I'm a man. We will never be equal. In no shape, form, or fashion. We will never be equal.
I disagree.
Okay, that's you disagreeing, brother, because we cannot be equal. Is a woman stronger than you?
No.
Okay, then. So how can we be equal then?
I think, Anwar, I know you're speaking to, hopefully I think you're talking about like the differences between masculine and feminine energy. But when you say equal,
when I mean equal, I don't mean like, like what I'm saying is in a physicality type way, right? Like it's certain jobs that women just can't do. You know what I'm saying? And it's certain jobs that and women can't do every job a man can do. That's not true. That's a lie. So a woman cannot do every job a man can do. Just like a man can't do every woman.
Job for us.
Look, I give you a perfect example. In the Navy, them deep sea divers that go way down in the bottom. You don't see. I haven't seen a woman do that yet.
Or running an oil rig in the physical capacity.
Running an oil rig, going out in the forest, chopping down trees, and doing all that. So it's a lot of things a woman can't do.
A man give birth.
No, and this is what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Just listen to what I'm saying for a second. And it's a lot of things that we cannot do. You know what I'm saying? We can't give birth.
The host just said women can give birth and men cannot give birth. He is speaking so many different volumes and chapters of the book we call life It
Right,
is.
right.
My
All
brain
right,
just
all
broke.
right, all right. Hold on before this becomes
W to
tasty.
the. I'm
Hold
following this
on,
guy.
hold on,
W to
hold
the
Hold
on,
up.
hoes.
Praise
hold
W
Jesus.
to
on,
the
hold on.
hoes.
He got dropped because we had the 5 Panther pause.
Yeah.
Anwar, this conversation is going to take a heavy level of nuance and intentional vocabulary. So, brothers, we do have. Uh, I'm not talking to y'all. Hold on, stay on mute. I'm talking to the brothers. All right, so brothers, we do have levels of misogyny that we still need to unpack, given to us by the example of the white T man. And peace to Sister 5G. And we gonna talk about that. We gonna get into that. But um, I think that as long as there's been African people before colonization, uh, and even post colonization, as far as societal power, there's been differences between the brothers and the sisters, our ancestors, but not uh, an inequality. I think that's where he was losing me, because when you say that women aren't equal, that's not the African way of doing things. We were side by side together on the plantation. We were side by side marching for any progress that we've had. The black woman has always been there side by side with the black man. Even before we was in colonized, we were also side by side in our farms, in our villages. We had matrilineal societies. We were the first people, African people, to write into law that a woman is to be respected at risk of being punished by the government set in place. We were also the first deities of mankind were African women. So when we say we're not equal, and mention men's strength as the reason for that, I would say the reason we're not equal is because of the strength of the African black woman, because of her positioning in humanity as creator of the whole world. Appreciate you, Black Girl. Um, in our societies, black men and black women have always either been equal, or the woman has been the one with greater power. So let's just refocus back on that. We come up here and talking about that. We don't do the whole one thing where the man is more capable of anything. I guarantee you, no matter what job you bring up, a black woman is more certified and just as capable, if not more, of doing that job. So we do have to understand that. They have shown that to us time and time again. So big up to the sisters in here. Big up to the women. You know what I'm saying? Not the females. Big up to the women. All right. So now that I've recentered the live back on balance, on the balance between masculine and feminine energy, we are going to keep going down this topic. We're talking about feminism, the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the genders. So I'll go to the next guest. 369, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Um, I'm a him. I'm 25, and also
Your
my bad,
race.
my bad. I'm American. I'm sorry. I'm Haitian indigenous.
Okay, so you're indigenous is your
Yes, to
race?
the Americas. That's I'm Haitian.
Haitian is a nationality. So there's Asian people in Haiti, there's white people in Haiti, there's black people in
Okay, okay,
Haiti.
okay. Oh, I'm copper colored.
Okay.
Yeah, my bad, my bad.
Don't come up here if you don't know your race. We don't do that. None of y'all are the color of a penny. Don't come up here playing with me. Don't come up here playing with me. We are talking about intersectionality in this live. You see me, I'm a brother. We're not just talking about the gender wars and none of that mess. You see me, I am a brother. I'm a black man. So if we're gonna have this discussion, we're gonna take it to nuance race. All right. Hugh Gigley, I don't know what your name is. Give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
It's Quigley. and I'm a black man of Mexican descent.
Okay. Talk to us. Yeah, wait, are you over 18?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm
All
black.
right.
I was just laughing because people don't know the difference between race and nationality. It was just funny to me. I'm black of Mexican descent, black from Mexico. Um, but I think feminism can be ethical. I think that feminism often is not ethical in white supremacist society because it's centered and focused on white women and upholding white power. So um, I often don't think, I think feminism is not often equitable in our society or ethical.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, you got a lot of echo. You might have to like turn your Bluetooth on and off or something. Swipe your screen down, bring it back
Can you hear me
up.
now?
I hear you, but I hear me louder.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, okay, he dropped. All right, so my oh my, please don't come up here with your emotions, brothers. Please don't come up here with your emotions. We want to talk about sociopolitics. We don't want to talk about certain other things that y'all think is going on. We support our sisters up here, but we want to talk about the idea of feminism, something that became a problem after colonization was the idea of patriarchy. Feminism was supposedly a response to patriarchy, but if y'all look up the root cause of feminism, it was not to make all women equal. It was not the equality of women that feminism was started with. Feminism was a battle over who was going to be able to control the government. There was a time where black men and women could not vote, and white men, in their patriarchal, misogynistic ways, decided to give black men the right to vote. White women saw that and got upset. They decided you can't have the lower classes, the lower orders of men governing your women. They were talking to white women. Her name was Elizabeth Stanton in the mid 19th century, where she talks and says and advocates, as a suffragette. She's saying that she did that if the right to vote was granted to all men, then it would be giving the lower orders of humans she didn't call us humans, but the lower order of men, she said, a right to govern white women, and they did not like that. And so that's where we started to see feminism come more into play. Never was the idea that women would be equal, but rather women would be able to, white people would be able to keep control and supremacy in the nation. All right, I'm gonna go back to Quigley. Go ahead. Quigley, are you here? Now we can't hear you at all.
Shit. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I'm a mute, but go ahead.
But you can't hear me.
I can hear you. It's just an echo.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on with this phone. I'm so sorry.
He probably he probably can't come on this live. Harrison, go ahead. Give us your age, race, and pronouns.
Yes, I'm 33, black, and he, him, his.
All right, talk to us.
So interesting thesis about that movement being a way for whites to maintain control. I think that it is definitely something more than what people think, but I don't think it's a plan to benefit whites. I think it's a plan to just benefit the super elite, fraction of a percent that who are mostly white, but they're not looking out for the majority of white people. They don't care. They care about themselves. And have a different way of extracting every racial group, gender, a different program for each subset of society to get as much as they can for themselves.
All right, so you just added a classism element to this whole discussion. I'm curious to know why you're doing that, because last I checked, it was poor white women marching next to rich white women in the Women's March and the different rallies that would be held for the suffragettes. I don't remember it being a class issue there. If women were not given the right to vote, there wouldn't be enough elite women in the top 1% to defend themselves against the 99% of white women that were still unable to vote. So what makes you think this is about class?
Basically, because notice how, like, I don't know, I know there was a first wave, and I won't comment on that. But the second wave that came in like the 70s came right after Nixon took us off the gold standard. And if you look at the charts, you can see gold basically skyrocketed, the value of the dollar tanked. And that meant that with respect to the rest of the world, that American dream where you have one man working and he can support a whole family was simply not going to be a viable option. And the only, the obvious answer to that was to get all the women into the workforce. So to get them on the same hamster wheel the men have been on, and they've done that quite successfully. And we still have no wealth. And now we have no wealth. They got women in the workforce, and that was okay. And we stayed afloat. And by the 90s, everyone they ran out of savings. We started to live off credit. And now the entire economy is just running on fumes, and everybody's poor. And they're still working. But we own nothing, and they own way more. And if basically they didn't bring women into the workforce in the 70s and 80s, then you would have had economic GDP collapse, and that's not good for the elites either. So women had to come into the workforce to keep the economy propped up, because the dollar was about to tank in value because it was taken off the gold standard.
Okay. My next question to you would be, when were black women not a part of the workforce?
Well, I mean, depending on what you call, constitute as workforce, like maybe black women did, but black women are only, what percent of the country. So that's just not enough. You had to get the white women working too. That's the majority of women. And it's just a numbers game. Like I said, they don't care I don't think they care so much what color you are, so long as you are playing ball on the program, lining their pockets, and help, their objectives are achieved.
They didn't care what color they were, because as I stated earlier, the early suffragettes were vehemently white supremacists, and even talked openly about black men as a lower order of men. So even the feminists disagree with you on that.
Well, I'm not saying that they didn't also value a black man as less than a white man. I'm saying that they wanted to extract black men, black women, white women, everyone as much as possible. There's just them and everybody else.
And I'm trying to find where you found the basis of this. Did you?
It's in the charts. It's in the financial. You look at the charts of, okay, first of all, I'll give you three charts.
Do you believe that things happen because of money, or do you believe that money is a tool to enact will?
Well, that's a good question. Okay, sorry. Yeah, good question. Money is an instrument that basically everyone on the planet chases, except for this ultra small community who is effectively short money. And they're the ones, that's the Fed. So you're on the other side of the Fed. Money is not a thing you want. It's just a thing you create, and people will trade it for their intellectual capital, their creativity, their time, and they'll do anything for it. And that's what they want. They want us to do.
You believe that white people are chasing money?
No. Everybody's chasing money,
I know, but I'm
except
saying,
for
do you
like,
also believe that the marshmallow folks are chasing money?
yes.
Interesting. Because the scholars that I read say that they're chasing power, and money is only a justification for their power structure.
Oh, okay. So I was talking about the regular population. Yeah, no, I disagree. So the power structure I'm talking about, they're short money, and no, yeah, you're right. They're chasing power. They don't need money. They literally have the money printer. So it's just like a thing they can just create from nothing, and it has no value to them except what you will do for it, what the whole population is willing to do for this piece of paper that they can just print. So they want to build they want to build a space they want to build all
But
this
I'm saying that's where the
technology.
whole classism argument falls apart. It's because it's not about who has money and who doesn't. It's about who holds power. And the people that have always held power, whether they had money or not, has been the children of the chalk.
The children of the what? Sorry.
The less melanated, more unbaked individuals. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Okay. Yeah. I know what you're saying, and I know that white people are better off as a group, obviously, and but there's still, like I'm saying, there's still the targets. Like everyone is the target, and maybe some people are targeted more, and maybe some people are affected more. But the people in charge do not care about the middle class average white person. They want to extract the middle
Yes, they
class
do.
white person as much as possible.
They do, though, because if they didn't have the middle class white person and the lower class white person identifying themselves as white to give them some sense of superiority over those that they created race in the first place to be superior over, then none of that money would matter. The masses of white tea folks would revolt. Because even if money didn't exist, racism would still go on. So again, this classism argument falls apart. I think it's something that a lot of black people, we've been deprived of resources for so long that we think money is the only thing that drives society, and it's not. Power and the means to control and maintain other people through that power is what drives white supremacy, and that is something that we're powerless to change. I'm going to go to the next guest. I got some more people up here. TM, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
I am 24, African American, and she, her.
All right, talk to us.
Well, I feel like I was going back and forth as you and Harrison were making your points, because I think that looking at it from a class lens is interesting. But I definitely feel like, not that I agree 100% with what Harrison was saying, but I think that for Black women who are in the labor force, and I don't know who said before, somebody used the word manipulation a while back, that white women basically came to Black women to manipulate them to support this cause that wouldn't really have a good outcome for them. And so I don't really agree with the classism, like that class is the issue inherently. So it's not about I think that you're right about it being about power. I think that what's interesting is just the ways that Black women and how they suffer, 100 years ago and now, how all of those details sort of fall by the wayside when it comes to feminism. And to me, to answer the question, I think that is why feminism, white feminism that is sold in that sort of way, why it is not ethical, because and it's also too, I know that's what we're talking about right now, but it isn't just specific to Black women. Any woman who is not white is actually a marginalized group. And so their experience is going to be worse off because of intersectionalism, and just considering the way that an Asian woman might be viewed versus a Black woman versus a white woman. in one workspace, even doing the exact same job. But I'm not saying that that's what he's talking about. I'm trying to answer the question on, is it ethical?
Would you say black feminism is ethical?
I would say yes, but I would also say that it is obligated to be radical.
What is
So
it?
then that's a question for people who would be uncomfortable, because I think that black feminism should be inherently about anti-establishment, because you can't have one without the other.
Okay, so then what do we need black feminism for if we can all just be anti-establishment?
But that's not what it's about specifically, because feminism inherently is about recognizing where women have been disenfranchised intentionally. Because when they first marketed feminism, period, it was not at all meant to be inclusive. And I think that that's your point. But what I'm saying is feminism itself isn't inherently evil or bad or at all. What it is, the issue is that it's meant to prop up white feminism, which is what we really should be talking about, is meant to prop up patriarchy. The feminism that was sold at first the feminism that was sold at first in the 70s for white women is used to uplift and support the white men who also want to maintain their goal. And white women have a very important role in society to continue to give power to these men consistently.
Okay, so when we're talking about this intersectionality, right? So when we're talking about this topic for the live, I'm speaking to feminism as it's defined behind me, the advocacy for women's rights on the basis of equality of the, I'm gonna say genders. It says the S3X's, but I don't want to keep saying that word because TikTok might think we're, talking about naughty things. But long story short, if we're going to have black women advocating for equality, why would that be separate than black people advocating for equality?
Because to me, because that's the aspect of intersectionality, and that, like, I feel like any black woman can probably relate to having family members, male black family members, not be receptive to what they had to say about their experience. There's a lot that is different about how men and women are raised. And so if we're talking about equality, you have to be willing to take into account what exactly
But blackness isn't a monolith, and we all have varying experiences, even within the same genders. So,
But I mean, it is a universal truth, though. I feel like most women can probably relate to being socialized a certain way. So to me, it is universal that, like for example, it's very universal to have heard, a mom or an aunt say about a little cousin, she looks too grown or she's fast. Comments like that are given to young girls, very, very young. It emphasizes a certain aspect of our character that we are introduced to without our consent. So to me, when
same
you
thing
say
happens to black boys.
a monolith,
Black boys,
exactly.
black boys are told you're the man of the house now that your dad is in jail or your father is gone. That's a
Brother,
part
would
of
you
emotional
prefer for me
interest.
to wait, or may I
Um,
enter the conversation?
I was in the middle of something. I wanted to talk to TM. I'll give you a few moments though, because you've been here for a
Okay.
while.
I'm just trying to figure out if I'm not participating, if it looks like I'm not participating, or if it looks like I'm waiting my turn. That's all I'm trying to
Nah,
determine.
we was just taking a minute to land the plane. Go ahead, and talk to us, Jazz.
All I was going to say is that that I believe that feminism and the first wave was made in order to uplift the black family. Oh, you want to land the plane? I don't know.
No, that was an
It
echo
was.
from someone else's mic.
Oh, okay. So it was made to uplift the black family because it was about the vote in the United States. And then they did not want white people to have 2 votes and black people to only have 1, right? So they decided to join the feminist movement, which was at that time in history about the vote, about women gaining the right to vote. the next movement during the 70s, some really interesting things happened. There was a woman who went to the Supreme Court, who went all the way up to the Supreme Court about being discriminated against. She was a Black woman. And the thing is that she was working for a manufacturing company. I think it was Ford. It may have been GM. I don't remember. But they did not want to hire her. And they said, we hire women, but they have to stay in the pink pool, like the secretary pool, but we don't hire Black women for that. And then she said, well, I'll become a janitor. And they said, well, we hire janitors and there can be Black people, but we won't hire women to be janitors. So in her unique skin as a Black woman, she was being discriminated against, even though the company itself was had anti-discrimination laws, but none of them fit her. So when you have Black feminism and intersectionality, that is one case that shows that a person can be discriminated against in more than one way, even though they are one person. And either way can leave them excluded from what would be fair, or whether it be wage, whether it be jobs, whether it be anything. So I think
But
that's what Black
there's a flaw
feminism
in that. There's a major flaw in what you just said, because that's like saying, because 66% of Africans that were brought to the United States through the Middle Passage, the transatlantic slave trade, were men, that women were also excluded from slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, I hear
Well,
what you're
it
saying.
wasn't
I
me
mean,
who
though,
made
that
that up.
don't
That
erase
was GM. GM would hire women, but not Black women, and GM
And
would
but
hire
but,
Black
but
people.
and the white man would gladly throw Black men in prison before he do Black women. So, at the end of the day, yes, there are different experiences in being a Black person, man or woman.
Do
Exactly.
There
you
are
feel
different
though that there
experiences.
shouldn't be protections with that awareness? Like, I guess that to me, it doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't matter what happens more often or in what scenario it's more likely to happen. The issue is that it happens at all. And so to me, if you have to split up feminism into different races, the real issue is just that every single race, but specifically Black women, need
Feminism
that
was
protection.
started by splitting people up into different races. Feminism was started as an extension of white supremacy. And so,
So then based on that, do you inherently
all right,
disagree with
all right. Everybody can't talk all over me at the same time, and 'cause no one's going to be able to hear what we're saying. So I understand that today, specifically on TikTok and social media, there is a big knowledge gap and misunderstanding, I would say, rather, of intersectionality as a hierarchy of oppression that puts Black women below Black men in the Black community. And there's a flaw in that logic. The flaw is that Blackness is always deemed someone in the context of white supremacy as inhuman, as non-human. And we all understand this. That's why they have a hard time empathizing with us. I just made a video about a sister that was unalived by police. Y'all can check that out. Sister Sonia Massey, that called the police and was unalived. And that's because they don't see her as a woman. They see her as an animal. They see her and they don't think of their mother. They don't think of their sister. They don't think of their aunts. They think of her as something to be subjugated. Notice I said thing. And so what I'm saying is, when we talk about intersectionality between men and women, we have to understand that the playing field has been created by the white supremacists. And that once you get to Black, you don't have men and women in the eyes of those that have power. You have male and female prisoners of war, male and female people, for example, in the concentration camps of World War II Germany, had different experiences. There was different things that they would do to women, different things they would do to men. However, they were both equally in a subhuman class in a German caste system. So this is what I'm trying to bring out is when we talk about black feminism, I would say, does the black woman want to be equal to the black man?
Well, I want to say, I feel like though also you do have to acknowledge the relationship between men and women in current time, because in a lot of ways, the reason that women feel like they need feminism and that they don't question if it was based in white supremacy is because they don't feel protected by any man most of the time. Most of the time, if you don't have somebody in your family, as a young woman to look up to for a male figure, obviously that can cause issues. And the same for men. It's not having a good role model.
So, so then, all right. So
But
then,
here's the thing, brother. Here's the thing.
wait, I can't
The
go
woman
back
has-
and forth with both of y'all. That's why I wanted to finish TM first.
All right.
Because I can't. Because we're gonna keep. I have a response for what she said, but then you're gonna bring up something else, and I'm gonna have a response for that, and then I got to remember both. So, well, all right. She said, today's climate, men are misogynistic. Black men specifically hold a lot of misogyny and self-hatred taught to them by their white counterparts, their white oppressor. I wouldn't even call them counterparts. So if we're going to say that, the treatment of black women by black men is an issue, then let's not consider today's climate under white supremacy as, like, if we want to talk about how black men treat black women under white supremacy, then that means we need to talk about white supremacy and how men have been tricked into hating themselves and projecting that self-hatred onto a reflection of themselves, are women. And their lack of empathy for black women is rooted in the white man's lack of empathy for black women. And so if we really wanted to get a study of how black men treat black women before they were corrupted, then we need to talk about what happened before they were colonized, what happened before they were made to be slaves. And in the continent of Africa, you won't find a feminist movement. You won't find a feminist movement. You'll find women as priestess. You'll find women that passed down the inheritance to their daughters through the matrilineal line. You'll find in West Africa and East Africa. In East Africa, you'll find women as pharaohs. In what we now call Sudan, you'll find that women held even more privilege in society than men. But then you'll also find different parts of Africa where there was an expression of duality, where you would have a movie just came out of the homie people, the woman king and the man king, where there's duality here, there's balance, because we have a masculine energy guiding our tribe, and we have a feminine energy that guides our tribe. So you'll either see men and women together, or you'll see women put in a higher position pre-colonization. But if we want to talk about the way black men treat black women today, of course, we need to hold brothers accountable. However, that mistreatment comes at the behest of the person and the conditions and the environment that they've been introduced to.
Can I respond to that first, and then Jazz, because she was just about to say something? I agree. I'm happy you said that men still, in that case, would need to be held accountable. I agree. I think that everything that you just said made a lot of sense. But I also, at the same time, the reason that women are so angry, I mean, and I really don't know much about any specific culture, but on the continent of Africa, where we came from, where we originated, yes, at one point it was beautiful and balanced, but there are cases all over the continent of young girls being
colonization. Everything you're about to say, post-colonization. So when you talk about post-colonization,
I guess I don't understand.
When you talk about post-colonization, you have to remember that we are in an environment where anti-blackness is incentivized. Mistreatment of other black people is incentivized. Mistreatment of black men towards other black men is incentivized
Right. You're
because it works
angry,
in
so
the
you're
hands of white
frustrated.
supremacy.
So you're very frustrated about white supremacy, and I'm very frustrated about young women being abused and hurt. So we're really coming from the same place. You're mad that that's where it started, and I'm mad right now today because that's what's happening. Like that's what
That's no
gets me so.
separation. You're
I
making the
mean,
distinction because you
this.
think that you're making the distinction because although, like I said, we need to hold black men accountable, we don't need to hold them accountable for patriarchy. We need to hold black men
Well, you
accountable.
do though, because there are black men who love patriarchy and who hate themselves so much that they
And there are
wish
black
that
women
they
that love
could do that.
patriarchy too, are
But
there
I mean,
not?
it's like the
Are there not black
vitriol.
women that love patriarchy as well?
I mean, no, I feel like I
There
don't really
is,
understand. No,
but that shows that patriarchy is a problem, right? I also want to say that I'm not. I have not been. That white supremacy has not ever used a black man to abuse me, ever. That I have not been abandoned or hurt or any of that. The most uncomfortable that I think I've had with black men is just being, basically catwalked down the street or something like that. But what has abused me directly is white men in the workplace.
This is a reminder.
Excuse me.
So when we talk about patriarchy, I want to bring up.
Okay,
Oh,
so
go
we
ahead.
could
Go
talk
ahead.
about patriarchy, but I need to let you know that patriarchy does not need an emissary to hurt me. That just like the woman at the manufacturing plant, patriarchy has decided that being black is one thing, and so they make rules around that. And then being a woman is another thing, and they make rules around that. And it can completely leave me on the outside. So when I say black feminism is ethical, it is because it is responding to my experience directly to patriarchal white supremacy. I don't need a black man to hurt me or to even help me. Patriarchal white supremacy will reach me directly without
But
an emissary.
that's a very good point.
my thing is, at the end of the day, fighting white supremacy is just being pro-black. So why do we need to separate it through gender?
Needed to separate from gender for the same reason that I just
If I could
told you.
answer
The
this.
best
Do
example
not
that
cut in, man. It's too
because
much.
they believe that they can have jobs for women, but don't see black women as women. They believe they can have
But do
jobs
they
for
see black
black
men as
people,
men?
but don't see
But do
black
they see
women
black men
as
as
black
men?
people.
But do they see black men as men? But do they see
Oh
black
no,
men
it would not
as
get me
men?
the check. It would not get me the check. Think about her situation.
There are
Where would she
situations.
work?
There are situations where black men are also excluded. So everything you can say about.
Exactly.
So then that
There
means that we're
was.
in on it together, and that means that we got one
No, I
movement to
don't
do
think
it.
you're hearing me. Black men were excluded. They won their rights to work at the manufacturing plant. They were no longer
But do you
excluded.
see the flaw in your logic? Because you're saying that everywhere black men are excluded, black women are excluded too. But then there are also instances where where black men are included and black women are excluded. And I'm trying to tell you that's a fallacy. There are
No,
areas where
it's
black.
not a fallacy.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
It's not a
is.
fallacy.
Yes, it is.
It isn't a
Yes, it is.
fallacy, brother,
Yes,
because
it
it is
is.
a
Because
actual Supreme Court
black
case.
women are excluded from mass incarceration more than black men. Black women were excluded from the draft. Black women were excluded. We can go on and on from the institution of slavery in general. I just told you how
But that's true.
66%
That's
black
also
women.
true of every single race, though. So it is ultimately a gender.
Black women are included. Please don't. That's the problem I got with. That's the problem I got with this live. And I'm gonna be honest. I know we're talking about sensitive
Interrupted,
topics,
yes.
but
You just interrupted.
my live is to educate my people. I'm not. I cannot have y'all. Y'all been doing this whole time. Am I tripping y'all? They keep cutting me off. Like I'm like. I hear y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that there's a little bit of unpacking to do with black men up here. And I know I'm a black man with a booming voice, probably talking to y'all. I don't want to trigger nobody, but I want to talk my truth. I came up here to speak to the topic. So what I'm going to say is there are institutions like education where black women are the most educated. Why is that? Because black women are not as systematically disenfranchised the same way black boys are. Black boys have the highest literacy rate. If you think that is not intentional, then that's to say that it is innate for black boys to be at a higher illiteracy rate. Black boys are the literacy rate is climbing since 2020. So I know y'all not going to say that just being a boy makes it hard for them to read. But then by the time they get to college age, black women are more accepted into colleges. Why is that? Patriarchy deems black men a threat. White supremacy is patriarchy is part of that white supremacy. We cannot talk about patriarchy without talking about white supremacy. That being the case, there are times when black women are included because they are not seen as a threat, and black men are, black women are not included because black men are seen as more capable in the eyes of misogyny from the patriarchy. And then there are times where black men are not included because they're seen as more of a threat than black women that are included. Then there are times where neither of us is included. Now, when we talk about black feminism, I hear you. Sisters want equality to men, but they don't want equality to black men. I know y'all don't want our incarceration rate. I know y'all don't want our life expectancy. I know y'all don't want our illiteracy rate for black boys. I know y'all don't want, our unemployment rate. I know y'all don't want that. So when we talk about black feminism, who are y'all trying to be equal to? Because at the end of the day, the same way that black women are oppressed is the same way the black man is oppressed. Just because it's in different areas does not mean it's any different.
I'm trying to be equal to white men. I want every good thing that they have for me and mine. And when you talk about the exclusion of black men in college, from college, then I need you to hear me clearly and say, where does that leave the black women who go to college?
You said you want to be equal to white men?
It leaves us in the direct crosshairs of white supremacy.
Hold on. We got to calm down now. She just said she want to be equal to white men.
Yes, I want to be equal to white men. Anything that they have, their credit ratings, their housing, their ease. I want that. That's what we all should be going for. There should be no supremacy. There should be equality.
Well,
and if the white man is the standard, then that's what we want. I don't want to be him. I don't want to be white. I don't want to be male. But I want to be able to have access to the things that he has access to in the society.
And that speaks to your rhetoric. Okay. Well, we know what that's coming from.
Hang on.
Hey,
hang on.
You said it.
You talk about the exit. You talk about the exit of college.
You just said it. You said it. You said it with your whole chest. You want to be equal to the colonizer of the earth. All right. You want to be equal to the devil himself. You want what he got.
The devil. Yes. If I'm going to have to live in hell, then I want to be the devil himself.
Well, I'm gonna pray for you. We're gonna
okay, good. Now pray for me this.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep praying for you. We're gonna move on to the next guest because ain't no one packing that one, y'all. She just said she want to be a soulless. She want to be a soulless saltine. She just said that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about black feminism, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about feminism in general. A lot of the times when sisters get the notion that they need to become feminists, it is because they secretly want to be the white man themselves. That's it. Because they don't want to be equal to black men. I know that. Let's go to the next guest. I'm not going to say your name. I'm going to call you Pop. Give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Age 22, race white, she, her, I guess. So you asked a genuine question.
You said your race is what?
White.
Oh, okay.
So you asked a question, and I loved it. You said, why did...
Nah, hold on. Y'all going to stop playing with me. Y'all going to stop playing with me. Y'all don't. No, 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 no. Africans, black people. I don't care. I understand she didn't say she wants to wake up and be a white tea man. I don't want their privilege. I don't want nothing to do with this crooked ass system that they created. I don't want nothing to do with this inferiority complex that they have. I don't want their money. I don't want their power and domination over the world. I don't want their convenience of not having to hear the truth, but continuously lying to people that they deem inferior. I don't want none of it. So if you want that, you part of the problem, and you got a lot of decolonizing to do. So
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
understand. Yo, Becky, please hold on. We're gonna get to you. So I understand she didn't say she wanted to wake up with a pointy nose and thin lips, but she wasn't talking about the phenotype. And I don't want nothing to do with what the white man has talked about, I don't want nothing to do with that. And sometimes when I just said it, I said, are there not black women that love patriarchy? You can't call your, even if you do consider feminism ethical concept, you can't sit up here and say that the goal of feminism, the goal of black feminism, is to have the same thing as the patriarchy. What are we talking about? You don't want that. I don't want that. That's disgusting to me. No, 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 no. Let's go back to being human again. How about that? Can we go back to being human again? Can we go back to our customs and our ways? Can we go back to what was taken from us in Africa? I don't want what the European man has built. And that's the problem. Y'all think adopting his system of power will get you somewhere. No, no, no. That's the problem with feminism in its entirety. I don't care what race you are. The feminism has always been an ideology sought to assimilate into the white power structure. Black people, pro-blackness, pan-Africanism has always sought to return, to deviate, to get away from all of that and return back to the power that we had. All right, so I'm gonna go to the next guest. Go ahead, talk to us, Pop.
Right. So I actually think what your root cause of anger is not feminism, right? It's white liberal feminism. So what the
Did you just call me angry?
Hold on,
no
brother. Let me address this real quick. Like, ma'am, excuse me, but you don't come into a black space on a black man's live with a black discussion topic and then tell him he's an angry black man.
I'm
That
yeah,
is
I'm also
now,
angry
don't
at
overtalk
liberal
me. Don't,
feminism.
hey, don't overtalk me, because I don't play that. I'm not gonna do that. I will drop you off of this thing. Come up here and be respectful. I saw you call him bro in the comments. He's not your bro. You will talk with respect. You will come up here and be respectful to someone who is not of your race. If you can't come in here and talk with some sense, then please drop down, exit the room, and make space for somebody that can talk with some sense. I don't care if you white, black, blue, whatever the hell color you want to be, but you will not come in here and call him an angry black man, talking about he's angry because of this and that, and it's not feminism. You don't tell him what he is. I could say a whole lot of things to you, ma'am, about what I could say about you or what I think you are, but I'm not gonna do that because you know why? I don't have that Neanderthal trait, so I'm gonna behave myself in a better, respectful manner. So, either talk right or get dropped. Simple as that. I'm not playing today.
All right,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
should have not used that specific verbiage. My mispointed judgment and your mispointed judgment is not at feminism, right? Or the root of feminism is about liberal feminism. So the woman previously said, I want the privilege of the white man. And the root cause of that is she wants that same amount of privilege that white men have, they use to oppress others, to uplift themselves, put money in their own pockets, right? And that's driven by capitalism. So
No, it's not.
this type of feminism is specifically called liberal feminism, when you want to play the same game of capitalism as the white man, right?
Not driven
And
by
you
capitalism.
asked a genuine question. You said, why should sisters separate themselves into this gendered activism, right? And my answer to that would be, when they first created the Black Panthers, it was a form of the taking back of Black masculinity, and it didn't include Black women at first.
What are you talking about, ma'am?
That's a damn lie.
You got to go. You got to go.
Yeah,
with
she
that
gotta go.
nonsense.
She up here lying. Don't come up here lying, y'all.
Don't
come
come
up
up
here
here with
lying.
miseducation
Don't-
and trying to miseducate people about stuff. Especially, how would you know about the Black Panthers? Because obviously you are not educated at all on the topic, and you're gonna get up here and say some nonsense like that to a room full of Black people? Really, really?
The same way some of y'all colonizers, granddaddies, and and uncles and cousins was part of the either the K land or the sharecroppers. Understand that my family and not. I'll just understand that some of our people are knowledgeable about the Panthers because some of our cousins, some of our uncles, some of our aunties was Panthers. So don't come up here and start lying on the Panthers. Specifically, the woman behind me was paid by the CIA to infiltrate the Panthers. This is Gloria Steinem behind me. She's a well-known feminist. She made Miss Magazine, where she was literally paid by the CIA to create that magazine to paint Black men as the problem in the Black community and not the white man. And so basically she made it so that it seemed like white women's problem was the white man and Black women's problem was the Black man, because we had Black power. And understand this, when you dare open your mouth, when you dare open your honk mouth about the Black Panthers, understand that at the height of the movement, 2/3 of the Black Panthers were Black women. Shout out to my sisters. 2/3 of the Black Panthers was Black women.
But I'm finna drop her out the comments because she's still in here with the nonsense. So I'm finna block her. I'm just give you heads up now. All
right, yeah, do what you gotta do, auntie. So 2/3 of the Panthers were Black women at its height. And then later on, even a larger percentage of the Panthers was women, because the brothers didn't make it very far. We have a low life expectancy. But anyway, also I wanted to note that Black women of the Panthers that still hold meetings to this day have gone on record saying that in the Panther Party, whenever someone would disrespect a Black woman, whenever a man would disrespect a woman in the Panthers, that man would quickly be demoted and that woman made his superior. Even as much as disrespecting a Black woman would get him demoted, and then that woman that he disrespected would be made his superior. Name one white institution that's ever done something like that. You can't name it. Name any institution in the West that has ever done something like that. The Black Panther Party was the most progressive movement for women, and specifically Black women. I understand that there were problematic individuals in that movement, but there's problematic individuals in every movement. And we don't judge an entire movement based on a few of its individuals that are problematic. So don't start doing it with Black folks. All right, we're going to go to the next guest. Lady Beach, I think it is. Give us your age, race, and pronouns. I'll share, y'all. Lady Beach, you are muted.
Sorry.
Okay,
go
ahead.
39. I'm biracial and I'm she, her.
All right. Don't come up here if you don't know your race. Don't come up here if you don't know your race. Don't do that. We don't do that. Come up here. You are Black, white, Asian, indigenous. I'm missing one of them. Which one am I missing? Black, white, Asian, indigenous, and Pacific Islander, I think. Well, we're not doing the whole, Pacific Islander. Yeah, we're not doing the whole, I'm biracial. Y'all think y'all Amber Rose. Don't come up here. Use your words. Give us your age, race, and pronouns.
Yes, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I'm 29. I'm indigenous from lands of Mexico, Central America.
All right, talk to us.
Yeah, so I've been for quite some time now a supporter of the feminist movement, but I do find myself as of lately struggling with a certain thoughts, and maybe you guys can help me out with it. So, my idea behind feminism at this point is that it seems to be a bit paradoxical in the sense that it refers to anything that refers to like dismantling what we call patriarchy. So patriarchy meaning basically a situation in which the men are primarily the ones making the decisions.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems paradoxical to me because when we talk about rights and what rights are or where rights come from, it just seems odd to me to refer to both men and women as equals when men seem to be the only ones that can give rights and take them away. So if we're in a situation in which like a country where women do have equal rights, they truly only have equal rights because men have allowed them to.
All right, what countries are you talking about?
So if we look at any country where women don't currently have the rights that they would want to have, any country.
I know, but you said that I thought you said any country where women do have rights, it is because men have allowed them to.
Well, see, this is the entire paradox. The entire paradox here is being that in any country, any rights that women do have at all, whether they are equal to men's rights or unequal to men's rights, any right that a woman has is only she only has it because it was given to her by men.
Where I'm struggling with this thesis. What do you say of the Akan people of West Africa?
Well, okay, so let's look at it like this. What would you say a right is?
A right is an inalienable, uh, basically, I don't have the actual definition, but I would say,
Could we agree that a right would be an entitlement absent duty?
okay, an entitlement that can't be taken away, I guess.
Well, your rights can be taken away. I meant like, what is it in recognition outside of what we perceive it as? Like, are they real outside of our perception? So, like, are rights even real in the same way that they're, I don't know, like a tree is real?
But are you then you're talking about whites within the construct of racism, white supremacy? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm talking about rights in any fashion. So, any human being on the face of the earth that ever gave a right to another human being, outside of rights being conceptual, are rights objectively
Because
real?
I don't believe rights can be taken away. I believe that they can be unacknowledged.
Okay, so we would recognize, let's say, a situation where like exercising your right. So this is kind of part baked into my argument here. The idea that even if I grant for a second that you can't take away someone's rights, like what you're saying, you can infringe on them and you can prevent a
Yeah.
person from exercising them. The point here being that only men can enforce rights. So a right doesn't really mean anything unless you can enforce it. Meaning you can have your right, but unless you can enforce the right, then you can't exercise it. And because men are
But
the only ones that can
but I'm
enforce rights,
saying I think you're using a narrow scope of. You might be coming at this from a more like you might be more knowledgeable in your people's history when it comes to this topic, but I would say that I understand that my people, indigenous to Africa, um, our rights were handed down through women, through the matrilineal line. So I hear you, but at the same time, it's not men that enforce those rights. Even if in a majority of Africa, we can say men enforce those rights today, even in some matrilineal societies, um, post colonization, that still comes from the lack of people power in our communities because of colonization. But if we were to look at pre colonization and where these traditions that are still upheld today come from, it came from women having a higher place in society than men in certain scenarios. I can't say that for all of Africa. All of Africa had different rules, depending on where you was from. But the fact that they didn't have DNA tests back then meant that the only way to verify whose child it was if the child came out of the mother. So Um, so they didn't do this whole monogamy, this is my child, I own this child, and that's your child. All the children were the children of the village, and all that mattered was who your mother was. And who your mother was would pass down inheritance and power to her daughters, who would then become the mothers of the children that, would be the next generation. So um, this power structure where men are the only ones, granting rights to women was reversed for many cultures in Africa.
Yes, so just if I can try to focus my argument a little bit more. Yeah, I don't mean to try to not acknowledge anything that women have played a role in. If anything, I think that there's specific jobs that women have been doing specifically today in the military that possibly only women could be doing. So I definitely don't want to try to and not acknowledge the effort and work of women and the contribution to things like that. But what I am trying to say is that any society, regardless of what it is or what history it has, what geolocation, anything like this, would need an enforcement arm to enforce their laws and their rights. So even
You
hypothetically,
think
let's
black
say
women wasn't enforcing rights in Africa?
so even if we have let's say hypothetically, or even we can pick an actual civilization, let's say a civilization that you mentioned in what now is Sudan, where a woman was a pharaoh, for example, right?
South Sudan.
For example,
Mhm.
this is a situation where a woman was in position of power, and probably we can agree that that would be the most powerful position in that society. Um,
But
my
if you go
argument,
to West Africa, you'll see that women were the warriors and the hunters, and women would go hunt, and women did have their military might in certain regions in Africa where men would stay home and protect the house and protect the village. Women would go out and actually do a lot of the hunting and unaliving. So even there, the generals would be women. One that we can talk about in East Africa would be Queen Amanirenas, who actually defeated the Roman Empire that came down to subjugate them, which is the reason why all of Africa wasn't dominated by Rome.
no, in fact, Rome was using Africa to get food because they couldn't even feed themselves. Um, no, I understand. I think the distinction I'm trying to make here is that even if we grant that there were civilizations like you speak of, the distinction here being is that there's never been a hegemony that's been made up of strictly a female army, right? So we don't see major superpowers and major civilizations across the world or through history
Today,
that have
but you're
had this
talking about
function.
you're talking about post European colonization. You're talking about post manifest destiny. So at that point, um,
Well,
ethnology
even prior
is the
to.
idea that a society is determined by the prowess and the power of their men. Um, that's kind of what you're speaking to. That's a Eurocentric ideology.
Well, well, one, I would like to just acknowledge that this isn't something that I fully believe. It's just a thought that I've been wrestling with, and I kind of like to come on here and talk to you about it because you seem so like you seem very rational and somebody that can pick apart illogical things, and I wouldn't want to have an illogical thought. So it's something that I've been wrestling with. But one of the things that I do see about this topic is that, again, regardless of what women may be in power or not, like you said, even prior to Manifest Destiny, even prior to the Middle Passage, even prior to let's say the Olmecs, which were more than likely really people from Africa, you would still see any superpower that would want to establish any sort of civilization. They would still have to have an enforcement on for their rights, and that would always be primarily made up of men.
But
And
I'm
even
saying that's not necessarily true because again, I'm saying that you need to look up the women that led armies. You need to look up the women that led women-led armies. That did exist in Africa. That might not be something native to America, but um,
yeah, but
women.
I think those. I think respectfully, I think those women-led armies would not stand a chance against, let's say,
They
the
no longer
military of like
exist.
the Spartans, for example.
Uh, well,
Yeah,
well, I mean, you can have that notion, but is it not preconceived? I mean, you're saying that's basically based in an idea that men are somehow inherently more capable
Violent.
of leading, yeah, military, and that's back to ethnology. That's something that white tea women proposed, that the balance between men and women was that women were more gentle because men were so inherently genocidal. And that's something that they were speaking to because of their white men that were unaliving each other. The idea of patriarchy actually came when white women were tired of Europeans fighting each other after the collapse of Rome, and in the like I think Victorian era, I want to say, there was a lot of back and forth between France, Germany. I think it was before that. I'm fuzzy on the time frame, but there's documents that are actually written by white women where they're pleading with the men to see themselves as white men, so that they could come together and stop fighting each other. So they unified on the idea that they were white and that they were men. But that eventually, of course, was white supremacy. So, the idea of patriarchy itself is Eurocentric. The idea that men have more power to, enforce and, defend and, you know, go to war is patriarchal.
Yeah, so I think the question at this point becomes any situation we see around the world today where women don't have the rights that they would want. Let's say Afghanistan, for example, or Middle East countries where women clearly want to have the right to, let's say, go to school or drive and these things. How would these women, or any women in the world for that matter, obtain rights without appealing to men in any way?
But again, when you talk about today, you talk about post-colonization. White supremacy is a global system that's already been set in place. So that being the case, anyone that wants to have any semblance of power needs to resemble the white man's power structure. And that's how you get power, because they've stolen power from so many people for hundreds of years. So, again, it goes back to the European.
And what would be the alternative to this? Because it seems like I don't want to strawman what you're saying, but it seems that what you are saying is that we're stuck in this loop of resetting every single time. So what would be the alternative to this?
The alternative to what? To patriarchal power?
Yeah, this Eurocentric idea of patriarchy that you say we keep resetting to.
Um, for my people, it would be returning back to our African custom of egalitarianism and a society that took into consideration both masculine and feminine power when making decisions, when forming governments, when forming families. There were certain, like we didn't have to write down that men and women were equal because we already treated everyone as equal. It wasn't until white supremacy came along that all of a sudden there were different caste systems set in place and systems of domination and control seen as power. In the West, Romans are the reason why the West sees violence as a form of power. Violence was not always a form of power for my people. That was something that we would use, to defend ourselves. But at the end of the day, it was conquest and power in the form of violence and genocide is something that Europeans created.
Yeah, I hear you. So a lot of this for me started just listening to. I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy named Kaba Kanin. But a lot of this started from me just listening to him, in the sense that I've heard these ideas before about how mostly in Western Africa as well, there were societies that didn't even have the word criminal, for example, because they didn't even recognize that as something that could be part of human behavior, which was to commit a crime or harm people. So I understand the notion that you're trying to put forth. I'm just keep coming back to how would they obtain their rights if not to appeal to men in this society or in another one? Because
So you're
let's say we lived
saying
in a society.
now post colonization that men hold the power. How would we return back if men don't give back the baton?
Well, I just mean when you say we didn't need to write down that men and women were equal. We already knew they were equal. My question to you is equal in which way? Because I understand we need to give people an equal amount of respect and decency as human beings and living beings, but in what way are women and men equal? Would you say they're equal physically or emotionally, spiritually? Which way are we saying?
I would say that women are either equal to men in every category or superior in certain categories. There's no, I mean, of course, if you want to talk about physical strength, there are also women that have the same physical strength as men. Africa has black women come in every shape and size. I can only speak to the history of my people. I don't know about what went on there, with your people, but there are villages in Africa today where there are women tall as Shaq. So uh, which hey, somebody know what tribe that is? Where the women are tall, where the women are super tall. Can somebody let me know? I forgot. I don't know
I
how.
mean, I could totally acknowledge that there more than likely is a minority of women who are
Dinka,
a lot
Dinka.
stronger than
Somebody.
us.
Hey man, hold on. I gotta applaud my people, man. Cause hey yo, shout out to Gerard. That's right. It's the Dinka. It's the Dinka people. You know what I'm saying? So man, I love that. Ooh wee. I say my phone died. I should have charged it while I was at work. My phone died. My bad, y'all. My bad. Um, I don't know where the last guest went. My bad. I was hoping somebody would have took it over for me. I hope they get. This topic really is something. This topic really is something. You ain't lying. My phone is playing. I'm not sure what's going on. KC, are you here with us?
Yeah, I am, and I apologize. I kind of timed this poorly, so if my car is sounding awful, I can wait and come back up later.
No, it's fine. We hear you. Give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Yes, so he, him, Caucasian, 32.
All right, talk to us.
Yeah, so I've agreed with a lot of things you've been saying today, and honestly have genuinely appreciated the things I've learned about the history of feminism in the West, the U.S. specifically, because there's a few things I didn't really know or recognize. The one thing I wanted to say is that I do feel like the oppression of women specifically has been like, how I see it, it's been sort of the first oppression that's ever been enacted, going back to, even just the evolution of the species into human beings. So I do think that there is sort of a unique element of oppression that women face in terms of SA.
Okay. All right. We were talking more towards politics, but if you want to take it there, um, how, like, yes, we know that grape existed um, since the beginning of mankind, um, but as a tool of oppression, that's the part where you're kind of losing me. You mean systemically? You mean
Oh, yeah, I guess the word oppression, that's a good point, is sort of kind of a political word, and it is used as a tool politically, whereas what I'm talking about is more just a natural form of that. So maybe we wouldn't necessarily call it oppression in political terms, but just a type of violence that women have faced sort of since the beginning of time, and that's why I
when you
think
say
they
the
do.
beginning of time? Do you mean the beginning of Europe? Because I noticed
No,
that a lot of unbaked individuals tend to think that what they went through in Europe is what everyone has been going through since before they existed.
no, I don't necessarily mean that. And I actually agree with you that a lot of indigenous communities um, were much more harmonious in how they lived before the West came and colonized their form of patriarchy, causing a lot of disruption in their harmonious ways of life, including here in the U.S. But just even so, I don't know where exactly you would stand on this, but I myself, accept like evolution and whatnot, and I do think we are related to animals. It just seems to be a natural biological drive that all types of life perpetuate this violence, and humans alone have really come out on top with trying to combat this type of violence.
I think that once again, your logic is rooted in Eurocentrism as a default for humanity. Um, Violence has always gone unpunished, and has always gone punished. There's always been justice. Do you believe there was never a time of justice in the world?
No, I do actually.
Do you know what
But
justice is? What is justice?
justice to me would be giving to each what their own, essentially, or righting a wrong that's been done.
Okay, I'll give you a closer definition. You weren't off there. Justice is the guarantee of safety and a guarantee that when harm is done, the people that have been harmed the most receive the most attention.
Yeah, I like that definition. Yeah, I just sort of pulled mine out of my head.
Hmm.
But yeah, I definitely like that. And again, I'm not trying to say that people weren't, taking justice for violence and whatnot, just that the violence was existing. And specifically with SA, it was uniquely toward women.
Right, but your thesis or your ontology was that, you know, violence towards women created a form of oppression, and you extended it to all of mankind. And I would say that there's a maybe misunderstanding of world history in that regard. Um, I do you know of any pre-colonial ancient civilizations where there was systemic oppression of women, um, on the continent of Africa, or where the cradle of mankind? For 2/3 of human history, everyone lived in Africa. So if we're going to talk about all of mankind, we got to talk about Africa. So at what point did did women not have a system of justice to balance when harm was done to them?
Yeah, I actually do take your point about like systemically oppressed or even just oppressed politically in a society. I think I agree that it's not necessarily that there was never justice for these women, just that it was happening, right? And it's uniquely a struggle that women have faced, even though I'm sure you could give me examples of society that gave them safety and the extra protections like you've defined with justice.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of European descendants tend to feel that what they have done to their women, everyone has done to their women as well, respectively. And I understand that logic because y'all have seen yourselves as the center of world history. However, I think it lacks a lot of nuance because the first God mankind ever worshipped was a woman, and that was on the continent of Africa, not in Europe. In Europe, when we get to Europe, they start talking about Zeus and Jupiter, and start to, raise men up in the place of women. But that is something, once again, that is Eurocentric. The god that I'm talking about is Hathor, the first known deity. So, again, to say that that society was unjust to women is completely backwards, because in that society, women would be called goddess just for having a child. You know,
Yeah.
once they had a child, they would be called goddess.
I'm curious, sort of where you would define the God of the Bible, Yahweh, if he would be sort of a segue into Eurocentric lifestyles, even though it sort of was in the cradle of humanity, like you were mentioning.
Do you know Yahwism to be an African spiritual practice before it became what we now call Judaism?
No, I didn't know that. I knew that Canaanites had a religion before Yahweh was like chosen as the one God.
But the people that we now call the Jews came and, of course, colonized and took over Canaan, correct?
Okay. Yeah, so that would be sort of a segue into colonization, or I guess
Well,
the
what I'm
start of
trying to
it.
say is, where were they from? Where were these early, what we would now call the people of Moses? Where were they from
Uh,
before Canaan?
well, yeah, Canaan is what I've always learned, but it's tough because I think most scholars would say that like the story of Moses was even just a myth, and they didn't actually come from Egypt.
I've never heard of these scholars.
So
Who is
you
these
okay,
scholars?
so you think the story of Moses was a historical event?
The story of Moses has a geopolitical history outside of the Bible. It goes a little differently. but there was geopolitics in that region at the time, where the people that lived in the desert practiced a spiritual practice called Yahwism, and they entered into Egypt and eventually left Egypt. And when they left, they had what we now call Judaism, but it wasn't called that back then. But end of the day, if you want to talk about the origins of what we now call God in the Christian sense, in the Judeo-Christian sense, because even people that don't go to church still believe in God when they say God bless you and God bless America. That one monotheistic God came about through the African practice of Amun Ra. Amun Ra was the first monotheistic God, and the African spiritual practice of worshiping black women actually led to the idea of that God even being created in the first place. The goddess Mut was part of the
Well,
Holy Trinity. And like I said earlier, the god Hathor was a precursor to the goddess Mut, a black-skinned African god that represented fertility and abundance in the night sky. So eventually, her child, and Ra would be the first Holy Trinity, and eventually they would mix all the gods into one in an attempt to unify Egypt, because there was an issue with the people practicing Yahwism. They wanted to create a system where there was just one God for the entire land. And that's what led to Amun Ra being the first monotheistic religion. Moses ran from Egypt after being a priest in that religion, took the 42 laws of Ma'at, copied them, and created what we now know as the 10 Commandments, which is the same thing as, like I said, the 42 laws of Ma'at were the 42 negative confessions. And same thing. I shall not do this. I shall not
yeah.
do that. And then before you go to sleep at night, you're supposed to say, I have not done this. I have not done that. And that's why they're called negative confessions. So you're
Well,
saying what you won't do, and then you proclaim that you haven't done them before you go to sleep at night.
I definitely appreciate that history. Again, something else I haven't really heard about that ancient religion in Africa. The reason I was asking about that early religion with Yahweh as the God is because I do believe in that text there is what I would maybe define more as a systemic oppression of women by the taking of, sex slaves. And so maybe just at that point we would be defining this as a colonizing religion, even if it was rooted in earlier religions that weren't colonizing.
You're talking about Christianity?
Well, early Judaism, like in the Old Testament, there's
Oh, I see what you mean.
a lot of stuff about going,
Colonization, right. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I was just trying to see if you thought that era was a colonizing era or pre-colonizing.
So yeah, when we're talking about Judaism, it was a religion that happened to be a justification for colonization by Europeans, but once it became Christianity, but originally it was a spiritual practice that was not state sanctioned. When we talk about a colonizer religion, that means that the religion was used as a justification for colonization. Now, when we talk about a religion that also colonized, there's colonizer religions, and then there are religions that colonized. So, colonizer religion, I would say Christianity, And Judaism has now become a religion that colonizes, but originally, um, the practice goes back to ancient African spirituality, which is why the Igbo people of West Africa, nowhere near the Middle East or the Eastern Horn of Africa, like they still practice similar spiritual practice as the Jewish people today. Almost everything bar for bar.
Well, if you don't mind, I just wrap it up with one more point, and then I'm just gonna keep listening to y'all. I just the reason for bringing all this up, I think, was just to try to show that I think there is evidence of or maybe not systemic political oppression of women, but this type of violence, even pre what we define as Western European colonizing. And I take your point that I don't think it was everywhere, and I'm sure there's cultures from Africa that you've been talking about that wasn't a thing. So I should be safer to not just say this was for all humans for all time, but I do know there's examples even in ancient Asia where they would sort of colonize and take their women. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily
Resource deprived lands. Resource deprived lands. People from those lands that don't have resources and didn't have abundance needed to assert dominance over certain people in order to survive. And so
that
that's where
actually
you
makes a shit ton of sense, honestly, man.
that's where you see harm
Yeah.
done towards women.
All right. Well, I appreciate you letting me having me up here.
All right. Yep. Thanks for coming up. Linda Acker, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please. I hope y'all was able to learn something from that exchange. He had me diving deep into the African origin of all major religions. If y'all want to check that book out, you know me, I always come with a book. I don't know if y'all be watching that chef that be making them videos. He be like, always come with a bev. Come on, stop playing with me. Like, you know I got a bev. Like, I always come with a book, man. So the African origin of all major Western religions. If you want to look that book up, that is by Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen. Y'all can look that book up. And I was also speaking to the history of Egypt through a geopolitical lens in the book, The African Origin of Civilization by Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, the Senegalese professor that proved Europeans wrong, had him stumped in 1974 at the UNESCO convention, where he proved without a shadow of a doubt that ancient Egyptians were Black Africans. The name of the book I gave was by Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen. We call him Dr. Ben. And the title of the book was the African Origin of All Major Western Religions. I think that's how it goes. It's a long title, but yeah, you'll find it when you Google it. Linda, are you here? You're muted. Linda.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you. Give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
I am 71 and Caucasian, and I'm a Texan, and I live in North Texas, and our past representative was Louis Gohmert. So if you know Louis, you know it's a white, I don't know what to say. It's just white, Caucasian. But I got to grow up in a very segregated town of Greenville, Texas, that had the sign at the depot that said, "Welcome to Greenville, blackest land, the whitest people." And it never set well with me and my sisters. But our family was all pro-Caucasian. The black people were slavish, and it felt horrible. So my question is, I've grown up there, and now I live in a community that is the same way. Oh my gosh. But anyway, what can we do? Tell me, what can we do we can't convince people, but what do we do to help bring the wonderful contributions that our Black Americans have done? I get so frustrated, as my sisters and my husband do, because what do we do? How can we be a light unto the world?
I'll answer your question with a question. Have you ever heard of PETA?
Oh my gosh, yes.
PETA, like they like conserve animals and like
Yes, yes.
wildlife and stuff like that. They've made great strides in reducing harm done to animals. Um, have you ever heard of global warming?
Oh, I'm a science teacher, a retired science teacher. Yo, my gosh, yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so with global warming, there's been initiatives to reduce CO2 emissions and stop harmful plastics from being disposed of into the ocean.
Yes.
You aware of that?
Oh
Okay,
my gosh, yes.
right. So when harm is being done, people have no problem getting together and mitigating the harm that was done, and dismantling systems or practices that are perpetuating that harm. At any point in PETA's history or any green initiative that you can name, do you think that PETA had to talk to the dogs and ask the dogs how, or the wildlife, how to stop doing harm? Do you think that in order to stop doing harm to the globe, that the global initiatives, the green initiatives, had to speak with the trees?
Right. I agree with you. No, they didn't.
All right. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you. I have enjoyed you so much. I've learned so.
All right. Ash, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please.
Ashley, 28, she, her.
All right. And
Hey,
your race?
brother legend.
Peace. Peace. Your race?
Oh, my race, black.
All right. Talk to us, sister.
Is feminism ethical? I feel like feminism is unethical, and the feminist movement caused the new modern day woman type thing. That's just my personal opinion. I don't like it. I don't want to get up and work. I feel like the structure of the independent woman, and now the independent women in the black community, like, I feel like it's just OD. The only way being an independent woman is okay is if it's like you're making six figures, you're making good money, like you're relaxing, you're chilling, you're vacating. But like independent woman and working hard like a man, then gotta pay all the bills and do all that, that's depressing. Like, whoever got up and was like, women work, like, I don't like it. I don't enjoy working. And that's just some women who are truly traditional. Like, traditional women today, we don't want to work, we don't want to do none of that. And just because they're paying us, like, they would have paid the man twice as much to do one job because they wasn't paying us. So if they wasn't paying,
If I paid you $50,000 an hour, would you want to work?
yeah.
Okay. So is it that women don't want to work, or the black woman has been working for so long and hasn't received a pay that's able to sustain her, keep her safe, and give her economic power?
Yeah, that's a smart concept.
Well, in the continent, in Africa, pre-colonization, we did have a society where there was abundance, and our women were a symbol of that abundance. We had fruit growing on trees. Even today, in parts of Africa, a lot of Africa, the people just eat fruit off the trees. Like you just walk past a lemon tree, grab you some lemons, grab you some figs, some soursop, the baobab tree. Some of y'all know about that tree. It's a tree that actually there's a tree that actually has water you can drink like Gatorade, and it will keep you hydrated. And it also has food from the tree that you can eat. These trees actually you needed nothing else but this tree in order to just live. Like societies would just live around these trees, and you didn't have to grow anything else. So what I'm saying is, when we had abundance, the black man and the black woman, the African man, the African woman, would work side by side, and no one complained because you only worked for what you needed. You didn't have to work in order to you know obtain material.
Shelter and water and gas and
Right, you
everything they
see?
got us paying, like transportation. Like we're paying for stuff that we truly like that's unfair.
Yeah, so
Then it's like less money for us at the end.
imagine you didn't have to worry about where water was coming from. You didn't have to worry about the roof above your head. You knew that the house that you lived in was not one that you had to pay rent to, but one that has been in your family for so many thousands of years that you're just entitled to this land. Like this is your land. No one can even sell it. No one can even buy it from you because this is just your land. You know, there's even places in Africa where someone will sell you land, and then you think you own it because you quote unquote bought it and got a deed, and then the chief say, "Nah, that's not your land. It don't belong to you. This belongs to this family that has been there for thousands of years." You understand? So
Yeah, respect.
that's the thing is, I think it's, the white woman that has been kept from power, and she's the one that feels like she wants the right to work the same way her men do in order to get economic power, and economic power in a capitalist system her man built. However, black women, we was working side by side since before slavery. And we was working side by side during slavery. And we work side by side today. The average black household has two household incomes, meaning, and it's actually something that weighs against us because we get more taxed for having two household incomes as opposed to having just one. And that's systemic racism. But anyway, yeah, like we've always worked side by side, but there was a time when we worked and
It was for us.
life wasn't about working. Life was about living and enjoying
Right.
and raising your children.
I feel like it's such a burnout rate here now. Like the burnout rate is so high. It's like the little 4 hours we get to ourselves every day just to keep a roof over our head is depressing sometimes, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yep, that's white supremacy and capitalism ruining our lives. But we rooting on its downfall. And pay attention to what's going on in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Those people out there have started to reclaim Africa. So hopefully our people will rise again in this lifetime. But, in the meantime, we got to do what we got to do.
All right. Many blessings. It was nice talking to you. I'll be back. I'm going to turn my notifications on for your live.
All right. Ashe, sister. Thank you.
All right.
Peace. Life is a beach. What's going on, sister?
Hey, Brother Legend, how are you doing today? I'm so happy you have this topic this evening. It definitely, so I will introduce myself, Life, 54, she, her. But yes, let's talk about this here. Let me tell you, I actually work in finance. I saw this as I was getting off dealing with my last client today. So I deal with people with 401k plans and different things. The same thing as the work industry that Brother Timothy worked in. So I've worked in this industry for quite a while. And so I sit here and I see people's 401k plans every day, right? I see it. I see white people ones. I see black people ones, and I'm talking about educated black people. And if you saw the wealth gap, and as you're talking to some of these YT people, the intelligence level is not even there. How you got six figures and you don't even understand what I'm telling you? You're asking me crazy questions. So how did you get that damn job? That's what I want to know. Baby, let me talk about it. I done wrote a whole page of notes right here. So This is the thing. As I'm looking at these people's accounts, they've gotten these jobs not in the right way. We're talking about friendism. We're talking about nepotism. We're talking about white peopleism. We're talking about who the hell you know ism. And they get these jobs. They get these jobs. They daddy done worked on these jobs. They uncles done worked on their jobs. They grandpas done worked on these jobs. And they walk their ass right on into these jobs and don't know shit. We are actually overeducated. I attended a HBCU, Southern University here in Louisiana. We're overeducated as black women, right? A high school diploma ain't shit for us. Then we
Yeah.
get our bachelor's. That's like having a high school diploma. A little white girl, she can graduate high school and they will train her for that same job, and then will make that black woman who has her bachelor's degree or her master's degree. You got a little 19-year-old Becky as your supervisor, and you a 30 or 40-year-old woman. Now, I'm not saying this has happened to me, but I do know it happens to a lot of our sisters, and it's very frustrating, right? And then they put it in our head. We feel some kind of way that we have to keep going and going and going and going, getting all these degrees, right? And running up the doggone bill, owing who again? White people for student loans, because we're chasing that daggone carrot on the end of a stick that to try to get to that level, right? And then let's talk about maybe the little handful of us that get to that level. We some six-figure iggers. And I have a few clients that are, then we get to thinking we all of that in a bag of chips, and we forget where we come from, and then we want to start acting like them, right? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how black women, our health declines because we are on the front battlefields at these raggedy ass jobs, dealing with these microaggressions, these low down suckers going report us, lying on us, talking about we not friendly, talking about they don't like us and shit. Playing them damn mind games with us all day. Then we got to go home and deal with our children, deal with our husbands. We got a whole lot on our plate. It ain't like we can go to work in peace and do what we got to do and come home. Oh, no. It's not good enough that we do a good job. Now we got to kiss your ass. Let's talk about it. Let's see what else I have here. Yeah, we have to work twice as hard. We have to be overeducated. And another thing, it undermines the relationship between the black man and the black woman, this so-called feminism, right? Because that's not how we were made to operate. We are partners. We are comrades, as you said yesterday. We work together. And so now we're handling each other as white men and white women handle each other. But we a whole different type of people. What works for them don't work for us. It ain't good for us to want to be like them. See, they sold us this feminism. They sold us this idea of white love, and want to put a romantic label on it. We don't want it and we don't need it. I'm telling you, we don't want it and we don't need it. Let's see what else I got to say. Let's see here. Another thing, I like what you said. One thing I embarked on this journey. I used to be a six nigga igger, but I don't want it because I ain't selling my soul to the devil. I'm happy. I work and I do what I want to do. And it's different things that make me happy now. And I'm not talking about the sisters because I think we are beautiful. In anything we do, baby, the hair, the nails, whether you wear it natural, whatever these women are doing, I'm a woman and I'm for women. But you have to think about what you spend your money on. I used to be one of them ones spending my money on them nails every day, giving them people that don't even like my ass and be talking about me behind my back. I wish I would give them another penny. There are things out there that can strengthen your nails, grow your own nails. And guess what? You don't need all of that. Don't go give them people your money and they don't even like you. And I understand some of the ladies wear the protective styles. If we want to wear that type of stuff, we need to get, good in those fields where we can strictly go to our black brothers and sisters who offer those services and leave those people alone, making them rich. Because we're trying to attain their level of lifestyle and living, and we just like some little rats on a goddamn wheel going round and round and ain't getting nowhere. And we're not paying attention to our children. We're not paying attention to the things that matter, right? And like you said, just living a peaceful lifestyle, living a lifestyle where you can actually be happy, not running after, material things and all this other stuff. But, to each his own. But I live a very minimal lifestyle. I want to experience, things with my family, with my child, and really know the world and see the world. That's what I want. And then
I heard that.
that's that. Like I said, I'm gonna be quiet in a minute, but baby, I'm just on a roll. We are so far behind in the wealth gap. And if you put apples to apples and oranges to oranges, the shit just ain't adding up. Okay. All
All
right.
right now. She gave us a word. She always do, man. I appreciate you, Sister Life, for speaking life. And thank you for that wisdom, because you definitely know how to break it down so we can all understand.
Thank you, Brother Legend. And I did join the B1 initiative, and anybody who's listening, you should as well. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
All right. See you Sunday. If you got time, Sunday at 2.
This will be my first time. I will be there Sunday. That's 2 p.m. Central. Is that right?
Yeah, 2
All
p.m.
right.
Central, 3 p.m.
I will
Eastern.
definitely be there.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate
See
it.
you later.
Peace. All right now. Shout out to the aunties out here, passing that baton to us millennials. Passing the baton to the millennials. We need our radical revolutionary aunties to join B1 Initiative. It is a space where we respect our elders. We need your wisdom. Black woman, we need your wisdom. Older black men, our elders, we need your wisdom. Come and join B1 Initiative. The Discord link is in my bio. I will help you get in there. I'll help you figure your way around if you're not, good with technology like that. But we're a collective of over 900 Pan-Africans worldwide, building resources to make our people more knowledgeable about their history, not just so they know the great lineage of the people they come from, but also so that we can see the mistakes we made to get us here under the thumb of white supremacy in the first place and correct that behavior. We need to look at our history as a way to correct our future. That's the words of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. But we also need those that have experience plus knowledge. Experience plus knowledge is wisdom. We need that wisdom. And big up to all the sisters in the live, man. I want to put some love on my sisters that was able to even withstand this live, because if you just scrolling by, you see a black man talking about feminism, and I'm pretty sure gender wars TikTok might have triggered some of y'all, but in here we got nothing but love for our comrades, the black woman that has stood by us black men for thousands of years. I'm talking about before the institution of slavery, but even then, the number one advocate for black men has always been black women who have advocated for us even when we didn't advocate for ourselves. Even when we thought patriarchy would work to our advantage, black women knew that was not the case. So big up to the sisters. I appreciate y'all joining the live. I'm about to head out. I'll come back tomorrow. Just playing around with the topic. We did our interracial marriage is ethical. I wanted to raise some questions about the ethicalness of feminism, because I seen a video. I'm gonna just keep it real with y'all. I seen a video about Sister Sonya Massey, and I just made a video about her as well. Y'all can check it out. We need to raise our voices for this sister. She was unalived by the police, and the police tried to cover it up. It's a very disgusting case out of Illinois. But I seen a video about it where the sister was bringing awareness, and I love the video. I'm watching the video. She's doing a good job. Yeah, she's talking about Sister Sonya. This is amazing. And then she going out of nowhere talk about black men and making it seem like black men were trying to during the Black Panther, during Black Lives Matter, black men were trying to silence black women from speaking up about police brutality. I'm like, why did you take the video there? The problem right here is the white man that showed up to Sonia's residence and unalived her. Let's not turn on each other when we both have a common enemy. We both have a common enemy, and we know that. But you come on social media and it be just the opposite. My channel, my platform, Be1 Initiative as an organization is all for one reason, and that is to unify my people. I'm unifying the brothers, I'm unifying the sisters, because no matter what you feel about it, we need each other, whether you like it or not. We in this together, whether you like it or not. There would be no separate liberation for black women where black men are still in oppression. There will be no separation. There will be no power structure for black men to take advantage of black women where black women are still oppressed and that black man himself is not oppressed. That won't happen. We got to do things together as a community, as a collective. Ubuntu, justice for Sister Sonia Massey, justice for Sonia Massey. I need y'all to raise your voices about this. I know I got some TikTokers or somebody in here. Make a video, look up the sister, what's going on with her case. This is wild. It's disgusting. If you raise your fist for George Floyd, then you need to say her name, Sonia Massey. Go ahead and look up this sister. It's disgusting what happened with her. And we need to protect our women. The least protected people on the planet are our women, because their protectors can't even protect themselves. Us, black men, can't even protect themselves, and then we have the nerve to even do more harm to our sisters. So, to all the brothers, protect your women, protect your sisters, protect our comrades, because that is our future. The women are our future. So we got to understand that. That don't mean that you got to listen. You got toxic family members, you got toxic moms, you got toxic aunties, you got toxic sisters, and you know what I'm saying? This toxic women, those women do not determine your allegiance to your own future, and the future is the black woman. So let's stay focused on who the real problem is. Let's stay focused on what the real issue is, who the real person that has their foot on both our necks is. And that being that, y'all, free the land, free all of Africa. You know what I'm saying? Free Congo, free Sudan, free Libya, free South Africa, free Zimbabwe, free Nigeria. I see what y'all about to do. Free Nigeria from Tinubu. Free Kenya from Ruto. Free Uganda. Free the brothers and sisters of the Sahel region. They going for freedom. I don't know about y'all. Free Haiti. Free the brothers and sisters in Brazil. Free Togo, absolutely. Free Benin. Free black people everywhere. Black laws for black liberation for all black people. My name is Brother Legend. I'm here to raise your consciousness. I'm out, y'all. Black power.